Hello, good evening. How are you doing? Now, again, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. This was not supposed to be happening, but I'm doing it for the social studies, right? So I just want to let you remember that. I'm doing it for the social studies. I just came back from exercising Starboy and Stella, so you might hear them, right? Because them still real hype and jiggy and thing. And I still kind of hype. So I went, I washed my face, I put on a little bit of powder and a little bit of lipstick, and I say, right, I'm coming and doing this for the social studies. And the reason that I'm doing this for the social studies is very simple. It had too much madness outside there, and I know we children in SEA and maybe some of our children that are doing social studies who will at some point in time need need to understand the level of foolishness that's taking place here, and maybe even write a little paragraph, a little essay or something like that so about it, right? So I say, after our press conference today, let me be a responsible citizen, because I can't rely on media to function as a responsible citizen here. Them ain't doing nothing for the collective. Them only doing thing for the client, aka the business class. So I say, well, let me come here and let we iron the thing out. So good evening. Hi Carol, hi Leslie Ann, hi Carla McIntyre, hi Neil, Francois, Jennifer, Nathan, Patricia Defoe, Kimberly Collins, Asina Anne up in Toko, Claire Irish, Jazzy Boison, who I did, to the best of my knowledge, up in North America somewhere. Mary James says she, and like how keep close up to Christine. Yeah, no, all let me give Tech Guy a round of applause now. Let me give Tech Guy a round of applause, because you see this poster is what time for the day. What time of the day today? I tell Tech Guy I want a poster, boy. Is around the press conference, you know. When the press conference was going on, I said to myself, no. I had to do a live later, and me and doing a live dry, so I need a poster. I sent Tech Guy a message, and I tell Tech Guy I need something for this evening, right? And Tech Guy bust back this poster for me, and he had a ball, you know, a real ball, you know. I said, nah, boy, Tech Guy want a next raise, right? Tech Guy looking for a next bonus. He looking for a carnival bonus or a Easter bonus or something like that. So I see Jennifer says she waving she hand. No, the thing real bad up. Let me watch it again. Let me talk all through it. So it have the Prime Minister. I'm sure you all seeing the Prime Minister. There is the presidential nominee of the People's National Movement, Senate President Christine Kangaloo. Then you have all your opposition leader, right? Kamala Sushila Prasad Visesa down in the corner, and her nominee, her presidential nominee. And of course, because we cannot be talking about water in the carnival season, we cannot be talking about Avatar and underwater and water world during the carnival season, and I ain't talk about the water lord. Iowa the water lord is right there in the mix. Yeah, I real ball when I see that poster. I say, nah, boy, Tech Guy on our next level. So I had to start off the program with Iowa George Water Blessings from 2019, right? Because you know, it have a soca tune for every single issue. So in talking to Tech Guy, here why I tell Tech Guy. So let me tell you what I was expecting to get back. I was expecting to get back a poster that had 4 people in hoods, right? Because I tell him, it's not the KKK we dealing up with. It's the KKKK, right? 4K. And then I tell him, I say, well, you know, we are we are HD. You have, you know, now 3D, then HD, then 4K video, right? So we tossing ideas around real quick, messaging back and forth, because he was on the road walking somewhere and I was home in between things, and so we messaging back and forth. So I tell him, I say, you know, 4K, either 4K is KKKK, and then he was like, no, he have an idea, he getting back to me with that idea. Listen, a ball all how. And if I was planning to do the live like on the weekend or something, after I see that poster, I say, nah, this poster too hot. This poster deserves me taking a fresh, right, trying on something over because me really have on too much right now. I put on a hood top and a track pants. Trying on something, splashing on a little bit of face and coming here to talk me now. I couldn't let that poster sit down for a week. I couldn't let it sit down for a week. I said I had to deal with it one time. Right, so let me get into it. Where the things start? Right. So I think the live that I would have done when we did the end of year review the other day, we mentioned rather that one of the things we had to look forward to in this 2023 is the selection of a new president, because we knew that the 20th of January, which will be sometime next week, whatever day of the week next week, the 20th of January is, the Parliament is going to meet and they're going to be taking a vote on the presidential nominees. So because they're meeting to take a vote on the presidential nominees, it means that we have to have nominees for the post of president. So let me get into all of them details, all of the details that we see over the last couple weeks, right? Let me look at something else. All you know me, I just like to go to my documents and my documentations and things. So the first thing we're going to look at today, folks, is the Constitution. You know why? Because the Constitution not there like my earrings. The Constitution is not an accessory. The Constitution is just there to look pretty and nice. The Constitution, is functional. It is a living document. That is why we just have amendments to laws, because it has passed a law, and then after a while, sometimes you just have to change up laws, you just have to amend laws, you just have to interpret laws, reinterpret laws, and the Constitution is one of those things that is a living document, right? And of course, it is always subject to interpretation. You have all kind of thing that is take place where this Constitution is concerned. But for the most part, it is around this document that our governance system is structured, and of course, our development of laws structured, right? So this part of the Constitution here, Chapter 3 of the Constitution, covers the president. So let me look at a couple of the subsections of this part of the Constitution. There shall be a president of Trinidad and Tobago elected in accordance with the provisions of this chapter, who shall be the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So the first thing you all need to know is that within our governance structure, the president is referred to as head one, as in that's in terms of protocol and diplomatic order of things. The president is head one, first person. So it's president, prime minister, chief justice. When we talk about the three arms of state here, we refer to the presidency, we refer to the executive, we refer to the judiciary, right? And the head of obviously there's the president, who is the head of state. There's the prime minister, who is the head of the executive. And there is the chief justice, who is the head of the judiciary. Those are the three arms of our democracy. So the role of the president is very important. Yes, it is to some extent ceremonial, but there are some key duties and responsibilities that the president is responsible for. He or she, whether we've got a he or a she person functioning as president. And the president, head of state, and head of state has a number of duties and offices that fall under it, and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And you see that business of head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces? That's why every single time I saw a particular nominee, I was just dying with laughter. But we will get to that very soon. So a person is qualified to be nominated for election as president if he or she, the Constitution is dated in terms of its language, right? If he or she is a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago of the age of 35 years or upwards, who at the date of his nomination has been ordinarily resident in Trinidad and Tobago for 10 years immediately preceding his or her nomination. For the purposes of subsection 1, a person shall be deemed to reside in Trinidad and Tobago if he or she holds an office in the service of the government of Trinidad and Tobago and lives outside Trinidad and Tobago because he or she is required to do so for the proper discharge of his functions. A person is not qualified to be nominated for election as president who is disqualified for election as a member of the House of Representatives. So if you can't go up as an MP, if you're disqualified to run as an MP, then you're also disqualified to be nominated as a president. And there are a couple things that disqualify you from being able to run as an MP. And the key thing is, of course, holding things like dual citizenship, right? So where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives, respectively, shall thereupon become vacant. Now, Section 24.1 is very important. And Section 24.1 is very important. It was 24.1 of the Constitution is very important because, look at the wording. It says very explicitly, let me blow it up here on the screen for you. Where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his or her seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives, respectively, shall thereupon become vacant. I want that to be digested and I want it to sink in. This Constitution that would have been written first in 1962, then revised in 1976 when we became a republic, has, certainly since 1976, if not before that, a clause, Section 24.1, where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his or her seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives, respectively, shall thereupon become vacant. So, Ole explain something to me here. The Constitution is saying explicitly, right, that somebody in the Senate or in the House of Representatives can be elected as president. So if you're going to be elected as president, it then by proxy, logic tells you if you could be elected as president, then it means that you can be nominated to be president once you are a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives. It is there in black and white in front of all your face. Section 24.1. Where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives, respectively, shall thereupon become vacant. So if Section 24.1 exists in our Constitution, and it there for however long, it is not illegal in any form or fashion for somebody who is a member of the Senate or a member of the House of Representatives to be elected as president. So all of the noise and the bangarang that get kicked up since the nomination of Christine Kangaloo is moot, irrelevant, and pure. Listen, it is pure asinine old talk taking place because it's there in the Constitution, And you had a whole set of persons who jump up and had all kinds of things to say and pass them out on all kinds of issues. And not once did they reference or refer to what the Constitution allows for. Now I have my reservations. And I talked about my reservations before online on my page on Facebook, but I'll talk about my reservations again. The reason I have reservations about the current presidential nominee from the government is simply to do with this. As a culture here in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't find we just display the levels of maturity that we could easily be displaying. That's where my concern is. Remember, I started off talking about the three arms of governance here, right? I talked about the president, I talked about the prime minister, I talked about the chief justice. And the way in which our constitution is written, the way in which language is used in the constitution, oftentimes there are loopholes, spaces, cracks and seams and things that kind of boils down to the people who are applying and administering aspects of the constitution basically needing to be people that are ethical, right? And when you're in a situation where the language of the constitution is not robust language and where people aren't ethical, you could find yourself in a situation where you end up with unethical selections being made. And as we talk about unethical selections being made, let us now go to the core issues. So you have the Prime Minister nominating Christine Kangaloo. Now, in my mind, Christine Kangaloo is suitable for the job. On paper, and in theory and in practice, she is suitable for the job. She has functioned as the President of the Senate. And by proxy, once you're functioning as the President of the Senate, whenever the President is out of the country, the President of the Senate acts as the President. So she has work experience. If you're looking at her CV, Christine Kangaloo ticking all of the boxes, right? She has had she has given long service to the country in terms of public service. She functioned as an MP. She's a lawyer. She has functioned as the President of the Senate. She has acted as the President on a number of occasions. It ain't have no way you could look at Christine Kangaloo's CV and say to yourself, well, nah boy, this woman ain't have what it takes to be the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She name was never in no scandal. All of the boxes ticked. All of the boxes ticked. So the opposition had the opportunity. They met with the Prime Minister and his team. They sit down in a meeting. We get a picture, all of them sit down in the meeting. We see Kamala sit down in the meeting looking red and ready in she dress. And I there thinking to myself, but how the opposition leader these days constantly wearing red? What is going on? In any case, she show up in the meeting. And the meeting appears to be cordial. Then, after the meeting takes place, she has a press conference right at the gate of the diplomatic center. And what was conveyed in the meeting is not what gets conveyed in the press conference. Then we go from Kamala Persad-Bissessar and her team in the opposition saying they may have no nominee yet and they're thinking about a name and they go come back to us with the name. And then they come with this name. No, Olia. I tell you something. I's a reasonable woman. I's a very reasonable woman. But when Kamala Persad-Bissessar come and says to us that when Kamala Persad-Bissessar come and say she ain't have a name, she started to get a pong one time, right? Plenty pong she started to get. Because UNC people was in my inbox one time saying to me, you know, fly in my inbox to say, Dane like Kamala sleeping on the job, what is going on here? She had an opportunity. I say, listen, me alright? And I actually said to one or two of them, me necessarily agree with Christine Kangaloo. They said, why not? I said, I don't have an issue with her, the person. I am looking at the possible precedent we set in, and I will get into the possible precedent we set in a little bit, right? And it's not necessarily that I think that I'll go get into it just now. I'll go talk about it properly just now. So Kamala at first at the meeting had no nominee. Then she come the next morning, the Saturday morning, and there's the nominee. Now, Alia, let me tell you something, eh? Let me tell you something. Olha. 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 Olha, help me to help myself now. How I supposed to take? How I supposed to take Mousy seriously when you show up to the meeting unprepared? Say you're going and give me a name. So I sit down and I waiting. Well, yeah, she going and listen. She going and drop a name on we. And when she drop the name on we, everybody going and be saying to themselves, well, the government should have do better than that because, you know, Christine Kangaloo was a certain, she was a senator under the PNM, and so it have the possibility that, you know, separation of powers, how we could be reliant on her to be unbiased, blah, 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 blah. And then Kamala come and hit with this. Listen, I can't catch myself, you know. Every single time I turn around and I watch this picture of the UNC nominee, I am just like, listen, let me tell you something. Everybody wondering why the Prime Minister takes so long to laugh. I sure he spent the whole weekend lie down on the floor laughing. I sure. That was Papa Keith whole weekend. Tears stream down your face, right? That is the level of foolishness that went down there. And of course, people inside Kamala's own party eating up themselves because Kamala had the perfect opportunity to select a stellar option. And when she selected, or if she had done that and put a stellar option outside there, what it would have done was raise the level of conversation that would have been taking place. And in raising the level of conversation, she would have been putting the government under pressure to possibly consider a different nominee. But instead, what do we get? So, let me get into my concerns. Bear in mind that I have said to you all that Christine Kangaloo, in my opinion, ticks all of the boxes, all of the necessary boxes. However, the office of the president has a number of commissions that fall under it and a number of other organizations that fall under it. And those organizations, the president, for the most part, has the power and authority to make the nominations. So, in some instances, the president consults with the prime minister and the opposition leader, but has the power to make the appointments, right? And you all remember the Bacchanal and Bangarang last year with Police Service Commission. And there are a range of service commissions that fall under the president. There's the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. There is the Office of the Ombudsman. There is the Police Complaints Authority. There is, well, Public Service Commission, Teaching Service Commission. There are a number of service commissions. So my concern was not that Ms. Kangaloo has not presented herself as somebody who is capable of being temperate and moderate and impartial. Not that at all. But that the opposition would have seen her nomination and possible selection as president as a reason to object to a range of things, right? Such as, let's say, the 9 independent senators, and fuss and complain and say, well, look, this, you know, these selections are possibly biased selections. That is what my concern was. And then Kamla Prasad Bisesa hit me with this. Now, Olia, pause for 2 seconds. If we end up with Israel Khan, who on record as saying that too many persons of African descent in the police service here, or you could imagine what Independence Day going to be like, or you could imagine the Independence Day parade when the TTPS had to march past Israel Khan as president. Or you could imagine an Independence Day parade where any person of African descent had to march past Israel Khan as president after a comment like that. Or you could imagine what the appointments to the various boards and entities that fall in under the office of the president would look like based on these comments from Israel Khan. Or let's see what my position was this weekend. Whole weekend, every single time I stop and think about this quenk as a president, I say to myself, what the ass really going on with Kamla though? Like what really going on with Kamla? And then I paused and I said to myself, imagine for 2 seconds if Kamla Prasad Bisesa was the prime minister, and then Kamla Prasad Bisesa was able to appoint Israel Khan as the president. Imagine what the position would be. Right? And all of that is why I'm concerned about the selection. Again, the selection not illegal, it's not unconstitutional, it's not unethical, because the Constitution makes full provisions for it. I just worried that in future, if we have a different sort of government that don't have a particular caliber of representatives and representation, we could end up with an Israel Khan as president. Me know if I could be laughing then, I know I'm laughing now, but me know if I could be laughing then. So that was the best that I'm pointing that way because the screen is that way. That was the best that the UNC under Kamla Prasad Bisesa could put forward. That was the best. In Kamla's mind. Now what I need all you to understand is, this is high-level trolling from the United National Congress. Kamla has decided that she, at no point in time, is going to step up her game. At no point in time is she going to raise the bar. She is going to continue to be the lowest common denominator. That is what she's opting to be, the lowest common denominator. At every single point. Where's that? Somebody says something about Gigi? No, listen. You don't want a situation here where Kamla is prime minister, Israel Khan is president, Gary Griffith is commissioner of police. Well, I have no idea who they would have as chief justice, because I feel quite certain they will hound the current chief justice out of office if he is still in that position. And listen, I would be worried for the Constitution and the Treasury. Them is the two things I'd be very concerned for, because I feel one time the Treasury and the Constitution are going to get gang raped. That's my position. Treasury and Constitution gang raped at the same time once you have a situation like that taking place, because I don't see that there is going to be any respect at all for either of those two things. I don't think the Constitution will be respected, and I certainly don't think the Treasury will be safe. Right? You see, Rain Man, you see all your mouth is boy. How you gonna say that the woman buying out the bar, she ain't raising the bar? Why are they so? In any case, it had two little video I want we to look at. Because the Prime Minister took his time today to answer the media. And a part of me feel a little shame, because there are people who working in the same organization that I working in. No, I'm not referring to a government ministry. I'm referring to the University of the West Indies. There are people who working at the University of the West Indies. And once you are working at the University of the West Indies, you're supposed to have at least a first degree, right? A minimum of a first degree, but in many instances, masters and PhD to be able to be teaching and tutoring and lecturing and that kind of thing. So you're supposed to have them thing. So you're there and you're gallerying yourself and you're waving the pelican crest and them kind of thing. So University of the West Indies, and you ain't read the damn constitution, right? So University of the West Indies, you're commentating, you're a commentator from the University of the West Indies, and you ain't read the damn constitution. So you come and you're talking up and you're talking out at the wrong end and making the University of the West Indies look bad. Or you're making university graduates look bad. And you know what? No, or you're not going to make me look bad. So you had commentators from the University of the West Indies who really and truly did not take a look at the constitution. So they were not clear on what was supposed to take place. So there are two clips I want us to look at. This is TTT's coverage.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar believes that a candidate for president without a political affiliation is needed. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley referred to Section 24 of the Constitution to defend the government's decision to nominate Senate President Christine Kangaloo. It states that where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives respectively shall thereupon become vacant.
This means in simple English that the framers of this Constitution, the Constitution which I swear to uphold before I can enter into this office as Prime Minister, is that it is anticipated and it makes provision for a member of the House or the Senate to be considered, to qualify to be elected and to be voted into office as president in this country.
He said it would be difficult to find a country where a democratically elected
Give me a second.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar believes that a candidate for president without a political affiliation is needed. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley referred to Section 24 of the Constitution to defend the government's decision to nominate Senate President Christine Kangaloo. It states that where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives respectively shall thereupon become vacant.
This means in simple English that the framers of this Constitution, the Constitution which I swear to uphold before I can enter into this office as Prime Minister, is that it is anticipated and it makes provision for a member of the House or the Senate to be considered, to qualify to be elected and to be voted into office as president in this country.
He said it would be difficult to find a country where a democratically elected president doesn't have a political background.
In the meeting I had with the opposition, I did tell them that before the government came to a conclusion, we did look, and the way I put it, we did look from seizures to Charlottesville, from Sangre to Carnage, to see who were the people that we could consider to approach. And we did that. And we believe that we came up with what is in effect a good choice.
When asked about the opposition's pick of Israel Khan as a candidate, Dr. Rowley had this to say.
Israel Khan has been in a number of political parties, the ONR, the NAR, and I dare say he has been a UNC activist. Israel Khan has been very outspoken in abusing me publicly, and the PNM and others. And therefore I think that's a good pick for Mr. Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
He reminded of the nomination of the former president A.N.R. Robinson in 1997 by the UNC. The Prime Minister said at that time, Mr. Robinson was a sitting member of the cabinet and was the leader of a political party which had formed part of the government. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
Right. I have one more clip.
I look very carefully in the discourse in this country on the whole question of the nomination of a president from a political party and this automatic vote that is going to go. The history of this country is not so. It is not so at all. Because when this nomination was made for A.N.R. Robinson, I was a member of the House, an opposition member, and in the conversation in my party, I did not agree with the nomination offered by my organization. But the Constitution makes provision for secret ballot for good reason. And when the votes were counted on this day in the Parliament, you would have seen that Mr. Robinson got more votes than the votes of the party that sponsored him. And I think that's important. And it's important for the intellectuals and the columnists to take note of that. Because if you do, you would realize that the person who today is leading the government in this process could tell you now that as a PNM member of Parliament, I voted for the UNC nominee A.N.R. Robinson. And I was not the only one.
So, where's media real stories? Right? What is really going on with the media? Why they can't get their act together and tell a story properly, cover a story properly? What's so hard about getting to the point where you use Google, because Google is your friend? So you do your research, you go and you check a document, you go and you check your archives, because here's the thing. The minute Israel Khan was revealed as the nominee for the United National Congress, people, regular average Joes, was pulling up all of the old stories, all of the old news articles. Media writes a whole set of Sunday stories and even Monday stories. They don't reference their past stories from Israel Khan, and they don't reference the Constitution. But what they do is they run to a number of commentators who are invested in this issue one way or the other, and they get their version of things. Again, underserving the population. But there's one piece of analysis that took place, and it was probably the most balanced piece of analysis that I saw this entire period. Where just now? I need to find it. I want to pull it up on the iPad so you will be able to read it with me. Right. All you have me agreeing with Ramona Ramdial, you know. Right? All you have media so worthless in this place. I'm at the point where I'm actively agreeing with Ramona Ramdial. She had the best analysis on this issue. So, Ramona points out all of the arguments. What happened with A.N.R. Robinson 20-something years ago. Let me see, we're in 2022. So yeah, around 20 years ago, or maybe a little over 20 years ago. So listen to what Ms. Ramdial says. She says, the argument against Madam Kangalu's selection due to her history in partisan politics is weak, given the ascension of former Prime Minister and then Minister Extraordinaire A.N.R. Robinson straight out of the cabinet into the presidency in 1997. So it's more than 20 years. Mr. Robinson was Mrs. Prasad Bisessa's leader for many years in the National Alliance for Reconstruction, and she would have endorsed his elevation. Interestingly, that very same President Robinson was given powers beyond his constitutional remit when he was allowed to choose Patrick Manning as Prime Minister on the infamous principle of moral and spiritual grounds. So that's the Robinson aspect of things. Now, let's get down to how people within the UNC are perceiving the political strategy of having nominated Christine Kangaloo as president. Make no mistake, so it's there in this paragraph. Make no mistake, Prime Minister Rowley is aware of all of this, and his selection of President Kangaloo is a declaration of political warfare. The deferred local government elections are due in December, and he has thus kicked off the campaign. He has spoken to succession planning and could have had Madam Kangaloo in mind for head of state since selecting her for the Senate presidency in 2015. President Paulame Weeks' selection would have checked certain boxes, and now the Prime Minister is quite strategically checking a few others with his new president. Our next president will make history again, not as the first female, but as the first female of his East Indian descent. She is also Presbyterian and from South Trinidad. These demographics count and have been very critical in past national elections, especially in the marginal seats of San Fernando West, Pointe-a-Pierre, St. Joseph, and Tunapuna. So that is what has the United National Congress worried. That the nomination of Senator Christine Kangaloo to be President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has repercussions and implications for two coming elections, local government and general elections. Why? Because the United National Congress has painted itself into a corner. For the last 7 years, actually no longer than that, from since they won the 2010 elections, the People's Partnership and the United National Congress has been actively practicing ethno-national politics. And once you're paying attention to what has happened in the United Kingdom, the United States, Brazil, Russia even, and India as well, you understand that ethno-national politics is a very dangerous sort of game to play, because what you do is when you adopt that sort of politics, you're pushing against other groups, and it might work for you if you are living in a country where you are the ethnic majority, like a large majority. But in Trinidad and Tobago, multicultural. We have two ethnic groups that are fairly large, and they're both roughly the same size. They are, give or take, around 35% each. One group is about 35.4%, and the other group might be about 35.6% or somewhere thereabouts. And then you have other groups, whether you're mixed race or white or Chinese, you have other ethnic groups. So when you want to play ethno-nationalist politics, you need to be in a position where you are a significantly large majority. The United National Congress is not. But because it has played the kind of politics that it has played for the last 10 years or so, it has, 12, it has painted itself into a corner. Now, there are people who have pointed out that even its base is having a problem with the kind of politics that the United National Congress is promoting. And certainly moderate members of the United National Congress are having an issue with the way in which Kamla Persad-Bissessar has been handling the politics of the party. And so, if you are given the option of a party that has had at least a 12-year, if not longer than that, 12-year track record of saying and doing things to insult and offend other ethnic groups in the country, who you're likely to throw your support behind, or at the very least pay more attention to. And so Kamla had an opportunity. She had a golden opportunity to show that her party was willing to adopt a different stance in terms of its politics. And no, instead, she went right back to that playbook that they would have handed her in 2010. She went right back to that Cambridge Analytica playbook and came with a choice that is offensive to the nation. And so she just decided, well, all right, I'm going to troll the population again. And so she gave us, hey, I'll reach there. She gave us this character. And so now I could only laugh at the United National Congress. That's all I could do. Because for the life of me, I can't understand how anybody could think that making sense. That ain't making any sense. That making any sense? No. In any case, folks, thank you so much for joining me. I go catch all you. I go put up a notice to let all you know when the next live coming. Right? Take care. Enjoy your evening.
Hey, hey, hey. Oh, yeah, yo. Hey, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yo. Aye. Come in front for your blessings. Come in front for your blessings.